You probably think, like, we're living in the fastest changing technological era in human history. But what if the greatest leaps are actually, well, already behind us?
It's a crazy thought, right?
It really is. Welcome to today's deep dive into Robert J. Gordon's book, The Rise and Fall of American Growth. Our mission today is to figure out why human progress kind of peaked in the mid-20th century and why it's, slowed to a crawl today.
So Gordon is an economist, and he argues that we completely misjudge economic growth. We picture it as the steady, infinite upward ramp. But the historical data reveals it's actually a massive wave.
Like a wave that swelled, crested, and is now just receding.
Exactly. And the crest of that wave is what he calls the special century. So that's 1870 to 1970.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because if you think about daily life in 1870, it was unremitting physical drudgery. I mean, you're hauling buckets of cold water from outside.
Oh, yes, scrubbing laundry on a washboard by hand, living in total isolated darkness at night.
Right. And then, within a single lifetime, it's literally like humanity went from the medieval dark ages to the modern world.
Because by 1940, urban homes had transformed into fully networked environments. You've got electricity, running water, indoor plumbing, gas. The actual physical reality of human existence fundamentally shifted.
And the sheer density of innovation back then is just wild. Like, Carl Benz invents the internal combustion engine, and Thomas Edison creates the practical light bulb, just 10 weeks apart in the fall of 1879.
10 weeks. And those great inventions, as Gordon calls them, they permanently altered human capability. Because, you can only transition from dark to light once.
That's a really good point.
You can only go from relying on horses to flying in an airplane once. It was an absolute unrepeatable phase shift in our lifespan and physical world.
Which begs the question, because that era revolutionized the physical world so completely, what was left for the modern age to actually fix?
Well, that's why post-1970, the palette of progress drastically narrowed. We shifted almost entirely into entertainment, communication, and information processing.
But wait, I have to push back here. What about the iPhone? Doesn't having a literal supercomputer in my pocket count as a massive revolution?
It is a dazzling piece of technology, absolutely. But what's fascinating here is when you compare its scope to the great inventions. A smartphone doesn't alter how you transport yourself or how your plumbing works or how long you live.
I guess that's true.
Think about the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy in New York. The moment the power grid went down, modern New Yorkers were instantly pushed right back to 1870 living conditions. No elevators, no heat, no running water.
Oh, wow. So without the infrastructure built during that special century, my smartphone would really just a glass brick.
Yeah.
And I'm basically a Victorian.
Exactly. The digital revolution changed how we process information, but it didn't reinvent our physical infrastructure. And because its scope is so narrow, it lacks the economic muscle to overpower the massive structural barriers currently dragging down our standard of living.
And Gordon calls these barriers headwinds. Right. Let's look at how those actually operate in the real world. Because rising inequality is a huge one.
Yeah, it's not just a social issue. It's an actual mechanical drag on growth. When the fruits of the economy are heavily concentrated at the top, the broader middle class just has less disposable income.
Which, that chokes off the mass consumer demand you need to drive a booming economy.
Right. Then you add an educational plateau to the mix. Historically, America saw these massive productivity spikes when entire generations suddenly went from, having an 8th grade education to universally graduating high school and then college.
But we aren't making those massive generational leaps in educational attainment anymore.
No, we aren't, which means the corresponding leaps in workforce productivity have just leveled off.
And at the same time, the workforce itself is shrinking relative to the population, mostly because the baby boomers are retiring.
Mechanically, that means fewer total hours are being worked across the economy. That naturally caps our total output.
Plus, you have to combine all that with mounting government debt.
Exactly, because as a higher percentage of the national budget goes toward paying off debt, well, there's just less money available to invest in the future.
Like upgrading that aging 1940s infrastructure or, funding the next wave of scientific research.
Right. So these 4 headwinds form this structural ceiling that digital apps and software just can't break through.
This explains a very specific modern frustration for you listening. It's why, despite having all the world's knowledge on your phone, achieving a doubled standard of living compared to your parents now feels almost impossible.
Yeah, whereas past generations just took that doubling for granted.
It forces us to realize we live in a world where the most fundamental, life-altering problems have already been solved, leaving us to tackle the margins. So I want to leave you with this. Look around the room you are in right now.
Yeah, strip away the digital screens.
Exactly. How much of your physical environment, the drywall, the plumbing, the electrical grid, was already defected by 1940?
Hmm.
If our physical world stopped rapidly evolving decades ago, what hidden, non-digital industry out there is secretly overdue for the next real revolution?